A little bit about me.
Yeah.
I am, I was born in the U.S. I was born on the East Coast, and then I moved to Asia when I was very young. When I was 9 years old, I lived in Ching Juhl in Taiwan, and then I moved to Shanghai, which is in China, and then I came back here for my university studies. So I was in Los Angeles. For the first part of it, I studied economics, and then second part of it, I was in New York. I studied engineering, so civil engineering undergrad, and then structural, with a focus on structural, and then mechanical engineering for my grad school. So I was like trained as an engineer. Yeah, but I studied economics too, so you know I speak the jargon, but I think what I learned in school just in the undergrad is very like surface level, and when we start getting into more micro level microeconomic stuff that we can see, and I follow the macroeconomic stuff with the Fed policies, monetary and fiscal policy stuff. Yeah, I follow that, and it affects me because I used to work in the private industry doing structural engineering, and I've also worked in construction as well, just as a laborer when I first got out of college. But now I switched sides, and whereas I used to design buildings for investors, now I do real estate investing. So not very glamorous. It just involves buying very old houses and I fix them up, and then I rent them out. And my business, for the most part, is very affected by the economy. So obviously, I have an incentive to follow it closely and like learn more about it every day. And through my business, I meet many different types of people, all all different social strata, and runs the gamut in cultural strata, right? Cultural spectrum. Uh, again, I'm very fortunate. I speak English, right? I speak English. I'm able-bodied. Um, I think I'm relatively amenable. I can get along with people, and so I learn a lot every day. Just learning new stuff all the time, and that's a little bit about me. And I have I've done a lot of like art, and when I was younger, I still do a lot of art and like media production, just as a hobby. Right, hobby is something that doesn't make you money, right? So definitely is a hobby, uh, and through like my time doing music, doing art, I also meet different types of people who give me just totally different worldviews. So now, um, through the pandemic, I was able to again travel a lot, reconnect with a lot of old friends that I've met through my life, and then get just so many different perspectives.
Now, how do you feel about UBI? Because there is going to be a UBI global march
Mm-hmm.
on September 25th,
Mm-hmm.
2021.
Mm-hmm.
It's their third annual march.
I think I was at the first one that
Yeah,
that
in
happened.
Holland, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, pretty interesting. My exposure to the concept of UBI was through the Yang campaign, the presidential campaign. So, after some time now and more reflection, meeting more different people, reading more, uh, my views have really, um, they've progressed, they've changed, and with regards to UBI, I think there are more interesting ways to implement it, because I think to depend on the U.S. federal government for any type of support. Personally, this is just my personal opinion. I think it is more risky than we give it credit for when we wholeheartedly need the U.S. government to take care of us. And the nuanced way, again, I would approach it is I think there are ways that individual communities and municipalities can implement their own basic income without having to involve like the federal government. This is going to uh, really dive into more of the emerging technologies that can probably bring this into fruition. And without beating around the bush, I think a lot of the cryptographic cryptocurrencies and protocols, they can be used to set up local currencies that then can be airdropped to members of those cities, municipalities, communities, like buildings even. And I think that would be a much more interesting way to implement UBI as opposed to trying to, how should I say, you would march to get attention from like the federal government to implement like a UBI. I no longer think that is a good way to approach this situation. And yeah, I mean, it's just because I have an innate skepticism of like the federal government. Please don't kill me, CIA and FBI. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But Andrew Yan's idea, or his idea during 2020 campaign was said the money will come from value-added tax.
Yeah,
Do you have any opinion of that?
On paper, I think that was what was so compelling about it. I see what's happening around the country. I see what's happening around the world, and as he says, there are gains right now through automation that are not distributed equally, right? But we do all kind of get the gains distributed to us through efficiencies, you know, deflationary pressures, through like just, yeah, as we say, automation. Things are cheaper now. We can talk all about quality and access and stuff, but overall, I think when you take inflation into account, like a lot of things now, consumer goods especially, are cheaper, right? What is rising in cost, right? Healthcare, education, housing, all the things that, again, he made big parts of his like campaign to address these things. And yeah, the value added tax with the distribution mechanism of the UBI, I thought was really brilliant, and that's why I was super on board, and I'm so glad I did it. I met so many wonderful people that way, which I think in the end is like what was the most valuable thing to me, which was meeting the different people and also just continuing to learn. That whole experience had me like really break out of a firewall, I would say, that was like maybe self-imposed. I had preconceived notions, assumptions that I don't know where they came from, right? Just growing up in this world, you're like, oh, certain people think a certain way and everyone's like that, monolithic. But the campaign, because it was so diverse, I got to meet all these wonderful people that didn't grow up like me, that didn't read the same books, didn't go watch the same movies, and speak the same language. So I don't regret doing that. But now, what is it, 2021 September, I'm back to kind of where I was before the campaign. What happened, right? We know what happened. There's no way the establishment, doesn't matter, Democrat or Republican, we're going to let Yang anywhere near the halls of power, right? And then through another event with his mayoral run, also wasn't very successful. You can tell that I'm not trying to cry like discrimination. This is just the way it is, right? And politics is very, very cutthroat, and at the end of the day, people like us, like little people, right? We should be trying to figure out ways to not engage and play their game, because they have a game they want you to play, and they're always saying like, yeah, you should totally engage and take part, because you have a shot. But people like me, I don't think I'm very unique in this. A lot of people are very alienated and disenfranchised. Maybe they feel it in their bones. Like I feel it in my bones, but I also have like a more academic and intellectual understanding of it. I'm just like, it's okay. It's okay to not engage, because there's so much other stuff we can do with our time. And one of the things that I'm interested in is like other alternative economies that we can take part in, because I think the economy is the base layer, and then like you can build a politics above it. But like we should be trying to build an economy first. And Yang through his messaging, and it wasn't just Yang, right? Yang has a lineage from people before him. They understand like, yeah, if people don't have financial floor, like a lot of other things downstream happen that are negative. So I think there are technologies now, and when I say technologies, it doesn't just have to mean like computers and stuff. There are other like social technologies that we can partake in that can help us uh, start the disassociation of us depending on a system that doesn't really take care of us, right? But this is Odyssey. So Odyssey is a kind of a upper layer for this other thing called library, LBRY. It's a blockchain based like media platform. So library is I think it's somewhat related to like BitTorrent, where you actually host your own file on your computer, and it also like verifies that you are the original owner or the originator of that piece of content.